In the next couple of minutes, why are belief systems so important in IPS practice? For someone that's had significant challenges and barriers associated with either severe mental illness, substance use, or both in terms of dual diagnosis, we are facing someone that's been traditionally viewed as not capable of work. So what one quality does an employment specialist need in order to overcome that? For it to work, an employment specialist has to have a blind belief that this person can work if they want to, given the right support. And let's look at that in terms of belief systems, because when people say that people are too far from the job market and that they've got too much of an employment gap, maybe they should do some voluntary work, maybe some training. Understand this, those traditional values are being filtered through traditional ways of supporting people. So of course, people being dumped into a job with no support might not have a good chance, but that's not what IPS is about. So when you understand the belief systems, we must put them through the lens of IPS. We do not dump people into jobs saying just good luck with it. We help people job search, we build vocational profiles, we help people tap into their inherent true preferences and beliefs so that the desire they have in their own value system is lined up with the employment goal, helping them face the challenges. I was a service user when I was younger. I was told by many doctors I'd never work again. I went on to work for 33 years and counting. Every day I wake up with a solid belief in myself that I can do it. But at one point in my life, I didn't, and was told by doctors and nurses that I wouldn't. But understand this, I'm not saying doctors and nurses are wrong. Sometimes they are absolutely right at that point. But I do know overall, I needed someone in my life that believed in me when I didn't. And given we're looking at it through a different lens, this is where things change. If it's not realistic, a client's goal, it won't work. And two common challenges we have: clients overvalue and undervaluing what they're capable of. Sometimes they might overvalue and choose a career goal that has very significant and specific steps, qualifications attached, which makes it unrealistic. Sometimes people with degrees and long work histories don't believe in themselves and want to work stacking shelves in the supermarket when they'd be better suited working in a university or a finance company, undervaluing themselves. So at each point, what's important, somewhere in the middle for an employment specialist, is to see the person at their heart. In light of all the barriers that they face, yes, they might sit in front of you psychologically and socially be impaired at that point, but that doesn't mean that's where people stay when they start finding meaning again in a job search. Fair enough, if you think about putting someone back into work, stress is bad, maybe they're relapsed, maybe that isn't a good idea, but that's not what IPS does. We talk about good quality employer engagement. We talk about vocational profiling, really getting to the heart of someone's preferences and what's realistic for them. But we're not the experts in our clients' lives. So if a client has a goal, we help them work towards it. And if it is unrealistic, they will discover that. And providing they have capacity and informed choices to make good and bad decisions like any of us, it's up to an individual how they set on that path. And we've got to be with them on that path. But understand this again, when we place people into the jobs, when we've got a good relationship with that employer and we have in-work support, supporting that manager and client, and also integrating the clinical team's recovery programs, whether it be pharmaceutical science, whether it be psychology or therapy, we're facilitating all that at once. The job placement, the in-work support, the expertise of clinicians and evidence-based psychiatry and psychology in order to help that client rebuild and overcome performance anxiety and other challenges and relationship difficulties, and then supporting that employer until they're up and running on the ground. Do you see what I mean? When you put it through a different lens, everything changes. At the heart of everything, the employment specialist must remain with a solid belief that client can work on this journey. And you don't have to promise that it will work the first time, second time. But what we do promise is something I promised my clients over the years, that I'll be with them along the way. And if it doesn't work, we'll look at what didn't work, we'll learn from it, we'll carry it forward. What does work, we'll celebrate. And eventually that person rebuilds the working life at the heart of everything with a power of belief that employment specialists had at those magic moments in those appointments and all those interventions as you go from job search to placement to ongoing support to discharge. At the heart of everything, the power of belief.